Good morning. Today we have finance and forgiveness in the diffuser, and I didn't pull a truth bomb. So good morning to you guys. Good morning, good morning. So we might get interrupted with a lady coming out to see if the cat out here is her lost cat. Good morning, Nina and Mom, I think. And Betty. Hi. Hi. An LPN lady. I think I'm following you, but oops, I missed it. Oh, there you are. Yes, I am following you. Nope. Hold on, you guys. Okay. Good morning. So, Big Magic is our book today. Yes. So last night so yesterday morning at like 3:30 or 4 in the morning, I saw a white something running out on our property. I thought it was a fox kit, actually, but it was a kit. It was a cat kit. Heath came in last night during the Desire Map workshop and said he'd seen it. It was a light-colored cat with a black tail. Good morning, Cynthia. So last night in the thunderstorms, there was a cat on the porch. It was a Siamese cat, and I searched on Craigslist, and there is a missing Siamese cat from somebody in town. Now, we're about 15 miles from her, but cats can travel really long distances when they are lost, and he's been lost for a couple weeks. So she's on her way out here to call around in the woods and see if it's her cat. So we may get interrupted if she shows up during the scope. Otherwise, and if we do, I'll just come back later. I've had a few late nights, so I'm a little exhausted anyway. So I've had workshops Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Monday night's a late night. I'm starting to get tired. So let's read this while we have some time. And let's hope and pray that this cat that's out here is her cat and that we can find it. We have one of those have a heart traps, so if we have to, we'll set that trap and catch it. That's what we do around here, capture cats. So the teaching of pain is our next chapter in Big Magic. Let's see if we can get a couple of these in today. And I hope your day is going well. So I'm thinking the notifications didn't ping because so much of our regular crew is not here. Would someone mind sharing it out on Twitter, please? Just in case. Michelle, I didn't even see you come in. You're here. Thank you. And I'm sorry for any pings. Hold on. Let's just fix this. Whoops. Let's try and fix the notifications. Oh, stop whining. Stop whining. Okay. You guys, Carrie Markle, who's on here sometimes, has llamas at her farm, her ranch in California. And she has a baby llama, and she's going to send me pictures. So on my Facebook page, I'll start showing. There she is. Carrie, I was just telling people to watch the Facebook page. I'll start showing progression photos, probably next week, for baby llama drawing. Because who doesn't want to draw a baby llama? Or a baby llama, if you're going to pronounce it right. Okay, so remember Katie's story? A professor told her something crappy. Yeah, Rocky, the baby llama. And it stopped her in her tracks, and she stopped writing for years. That's a terrible tragedy. So if that's ever happened to you, or if it's happened to you in the past and you've dropped your project, whatever it was, please pick it back up. No one has the right to do that. People say stuff like that all the time, and I call it, dragging out the dream-smashing hammer, and people are really quick to do that. And honestly, I feel like the people who are stifling their creativity the most have the biggest dream-smashing hammers for other people's dreams. So if that's happened to you, pick your project back up. So sadly, Katie's story is no anomaly. It's true. Far too many creative people have been taught to distrust pleasure and happiness and to put their faith in struggle alone. Too many artists still believe that anguish is the only truly authentic emotional experience. They could have picked up this dark idea anywhere. It's a commonly held belief in the Western world. What with our weighty emotional heritage of Christian sacrifice and German romanticism, both of which give excessive credence to the merits of agony. Hi, Tanya. Trusting in nothing but suffering is a dangerous path, though. Suffering has a reputation for killing off artists, for one thing. But even when it doesn't kill them, an addiction to pain can sometimes throw artists into such severe mental disorder that they stop working at all. My favorite refrigerator magnet says, "I've suffered enough. When does my artwork improve?" Perhaps you too were taught to trust in darkness. Maybe you were even taught darkness by creative people whom you loved and admired. I certainly was. When I was in high school, a beloved English teacher once told me, "You're a talented writer, Liz, but unfortunately, you'll never make it because you haven't suffered enough in your life." What a twisted thing to say. First of all, what does a middle-aged man know about a teenage girl's suffering? Good morning, Donna. I'd probably suffered more that day at lunch. I know, right? People, it constantly astonishes me. Hi, Adrian. How people feel that they have a right to say such things to others. Like, what in the world would possess a teacher to tell a student, "You'll never make it in life. Your dreams are worthless. Go work at the car factory. You're not going to make it." Good morning. I mean, it's amazing to me the things people will say. Morgan and Sarah, on more than one occasion, have had people walk right up to them and ask if their children are natural. And what does that even mean, if they're natural? And then, when they look at them with blank stares, they'll say, "Which one of you carried the baby? Was it a sperm donor or was it a friend?" Like, people will say the most scandalous things right in front of them little girls. Yeah, like they're little robots, like they were manufactured in a toddler factory. And I'm going to tell her that. They'll also say, "Which one is your favorite?" They'll ask her. She's been asked this more than once. "Which one is your favorite?" And Morgan says, "The one that slept last night." It's my favorite. What? That's horrendous. Oh, people are terrible. Some people are just really mouthy and weird. So, don't let things like that influence you about your craft. Don't let the things that come flying out of people's mouths influence you at all. Honestly, I do believe it's driven by jealousy. So, I had admired that teacher. Oh, more than one has asked her who her favorite is. As if. And it really is which one's ever being good that day. But I mean, come on. Why would you say that to someone? It's weird. So, I admired that teacher. Imagine if I'd taken his words to heart and had dutifully set out on some shadowy, Byronic quest for authenticating tribulation. Mercifully, I didn't. My instincts drove me in the opposite direction, toward light, toward play, toward a more trusting engagement with creativity, but I'm a lucky one. Yes, of course. They're all favorites in different ways. Others do go on that dark crusade, and sometimes they go there on purpose. All my musical heroes were junkies, and I just wanted to be one too, says my dear friend Raya Elias, a gifted songwriter who battled heroin addiction for over a decade, during which time she lived in prison, on the streets, and in mental hospitals, and completely stopped making music. Raya isn't the only artist who ever mistook self-destruction for a serious-minded commitment to creativity. The jazz saxophonist Jackie McLean said that back in Greenwich Village in the 1950s, he watched dozens of aspiring young musicians take up heroin in order to imitate their hero, Charlie Parker. More tellingly still, McLean says he witnessed many young jazz aspirants pretending to be heroin addicts, eyes half closed, striking a slouch pose, even as Parker himself begged people not to emulate the most tragic aspect of himself. No addict says to young students or people who admire him, go do heroin. They don't do that. That's insane. So he was begging them not to romanticize his heroin addiction and wasn't able to stop them all. Maybe it's easier to do heroin or even to romantically pretend to do heroin than it is to commit yourself wholeheartedly to your craft. Addiction does not make the artist. Raymond Carver, for one, intimately knew this to be true. He himself was an alcoholic, and he was never able to become the writer he needed to be, not even on the subject of alcoholism itself, until he gave up the booze. As he said, any artist who is an alcoholic is an artist despite their alcoholism, not because of it. I think young people especially confuse, they just romanticize stuff. Addictions are romantic. Just like people romanticize the Civil War, or they romanticize even the Great Wars. There's nothing romantic about war, and there's nothing romantic about addiction at all. And I agree. I believe that our creativity grows like sidewalk weeds out of the cracks between our pathologies, not from the pathologies themselves. But so many people think it's the other way around. For this reason, you'll often meet artists who deliberately cling to their suffering, their addictions, their fears, their demons. They worry that if they ever let go of all that anguish, their very identities would vanish. Think of Rilke, who famously said, "If my devils are to leave me, I'm afraid my angels will take flight as well." Rilke was a glorious poet, and that line is elegantly rendered, but it's also severely emotionally warped. Let's just be honest here. Unfortunately, I've heard that line quoted countless times by creative people who were offering up an excuse as to why they won't quit drinking, or why they won't go see a therapist, or why they won't consider treatment for their depression or anxiety or address their sexual misconduct, or why they basically refuse to seek professional healing and growth in any manner whatsoever because they don't want to lose their suffering, which they have somehow conflated and confused with their creativity. People have a strange trust in their devils indeed. It's definitely correlation, not causation. A creative person can have mental illness, but one doesn't cause the other. Actually, full expression of creativity can help alleviate mental illness, because some of it, some anxiety and some addiction, this is definitely not a blanket statement, but some of that is only blocked creativity, or a mild anxiety and a mild tendency toward melancholy and depression can be exacerbated by blocked creativity, highly exacerbated. Usually if you can, that's why art therapy is such a wonderful thing to do. If you can get your creativity flowing, even if it's just, weaving baskets or reorganizing your kitchen cabinets, some kind of creative activity can loosen up all this blocked energy that's literally sometimes driving people insane. In my opinion. The thing is I've seen it happen. I've seen what happens. Yeah. When, I've seen what happens when people who were addicted went into, because I worked in the treatment facilities, and as they picked up creative pursuits, they changed. They didn't have the tools to deal with it. So we used to teach the boys in the boys residential treatment center that I worked in, and the girls, but I worked in the boys unit, or the boys house. We taught them how to crochet. Crochet is a wonderful tool for dealing with anxiety, and anybody can learn it. So picking up even, the boys would, we're talking multi-generational gang kids here, and they were like, you want me to do what? You want me to crochet? But once you get somebody, put a tool in the hands of someone who has anxiety, it's amazing the things that can happen. And then that creativity of the crochet would often then go into other things like music or drawing or singing, whatever. It's a cool process to watch. So this chapter is called Our Better Angels. I want to make something perfectly clear here. I do not deny the reality of suffering. Simply that I refuse to fetishize it. She doesn't glorify suffering or put it on a pedestal or make it romantic somehow. I certainly refuse to deliberately seek out suffering in the name of artistic authenticity. As Wendell Berry warned, to attribute to the muse a special fondness for pain is to come too close to desiring and cultivating pain, which is definitely a dark and slippery slope. To be sure, the tormented artist is sometimes an all too real person. Without a doubt, there are many creative souls out there who suffer from severe mental illness. Then again, there's also hundreds of thousands of severely mentally ill souls out there who do not happen to possess extraordinary artistic talents. So to automatically conflate madness with genius feels like a logical fallacy to me, because it is. But we must be wary of the lure of the tormented artist, because sometimes it's a persona, a role that people grow accustomed to playing, and it can be seductively picturesque, with a certain dark and romantic glamour to it. And it comes with an extremely useful side benefit, namely built-in permission for terrible behavior. Hi, Catherine. If you are the tormented artist, after all, then you have an excuse for treating your romantic partners badly, for treating everyone badly. You're allowed to be demanding, arrogant, rude, antisocial, explosive, manipulative, irresponsible, and selfish. You can drink all day and fight all night. Oh, darn it. I'm sorry, that sucks. If you behave this badly as a janitor or a pharmacist, people would rightfully call you out as a jackass. But as the tormented artist, you get a pass because you're special, because you're sensitive and creative, because sometimes you make pretty things. I don't buy it. I believe you can live a creative life and still make an effort to be a basically decent person. I'm with the British psychoanalyst Adam Phillips on this point when he observes, if the art legitimates cruelty, I think the art is not worth having. I personally don't want to buy art that is made by a person who is deliberately making themselves ill or keeping themselves ill as a persona. I would not want that artwork in my house. I wouldn't want that energy in my life. I've never been attracted to the icon of the tormented artist, not even in adolescence, when that figure can seem particularly sexy and alluring to a romantic-minded girl like me. It never appealed to me then, and it still doesn't appeal to me now. What I've seen already of pain is plenty, thank you, and I do not raise my hand and ask for more of it. I've also been around enough mentally ill people to know better than to sentimentalize madness. Nothing romantic about it. It's painful for the person and their families and anyone who has to work with them and anyone who loves them. There's nothing at all romantic about severe mental illness or severe addictions, or any addiction really. What's more, I've passed through enough seasons of depression, anxiety, and shame in my own life to know that such experiences are not particularly generative for me. I have no great love or loyalty for my personal devils because they have never served me well. During my own periods of misery and instability, I've noticed that my creative spirit becomes cramped and suffocated. I've found that it's nearly impossible for me to write when I am unhappy, and it's definitely impossible for me to write fiction when I'm unhappy. In other words, I can either live a drama or I can invent a drama, but I don't have the capacity to do both at the same time. Emotional pain makes me the opposite of a deep person. It renders my life narrow and thin and isolated. My suffering takes this whole thrilling and gigantic universe and shrinks it down to the size of my own unhappy head. When my personal devils take over, I can feel my creative angels retreating. They watch my struggle from a safe distance, but they worry. Also, they grow impatient. It's almost as if they're saying, "Lady, please, hold it together. We've got so much more work to do." My desire to work and my desire to engage with my creativity as intimately and freely as possible is my strongest personal incentive to fight back against pain by any means necessary and to fashion a life for myself that is as sane and healthy and stable as it can possibly be. But that's only because of what I have chosen to trust, which is quite simply love. Love over suffering, always. Always choose love over suffering. Always choose love over fear. Choosing anything but love on a regular basis is just a recipe for disaster. Disaster and pain and false starts and dead-end roads. There's nothing good can come of that. Only tears comes of that. So making it a practice to ask those questions. I'm all about asking questions. How can we see it differently? What wants to happen here? Can somebody please help me? I gotta go, guys. I'm sorry to cut us short 2 days in a row, but the lady with the cat is calling, and she's probably lost because, we live out in the middle of nowhere. So I will see you tomorrow, and I love you. And if you guys are coming to the emotions class tonight, you'll see all our cool stuff. And if you want an invitation, find me on Facebook. Really quick, Ellen Michelle Wolf. Facebook.com/Ellen Michelle Wolf. Mwah! Have a great day. Me too. I love you.